In the days we live in, headlines shout about global crises, threats of war, economic collapses, and overwhelming climate changes. But behind the spotlight of daily news, an ancient force emerges from the shadows of history, a force that carries the weight of millennia, of fallen empires, and prophecies that seemed forgotten. This force is Babylon, the city that once was the heart of the ancient world, a symbol of power, luxury, and corruption, is being slowly resurrected, not only in bricks and mortar, but in stories, alliances, and hidden ambitions that dominate today's geopolitical stage. Babylon, a tower raised to the heavens as a challenge to God, is manifesting again, bringing with it the echoes of a past that has not yet ended. But what few know is that this resurrection is not a mere historical coincidence or a simple power game between nations. It is inscribed in the pages of the scriptures, where the future is revealed with terrifying details and secret hopes. Modern Babylon is a key piece on the end times chessboard, the stage for a final confrontation between good and evil, between divine justice and humanity's rebellion. If you are prepared to unravel this mystery, to understand how millennial prophecies align with today's events, then follow me on this journey. Because the story of the Last Tower is more than an ancient account. It is a living warning, an invitation to reflection, and a promise that even in darkness, the light will prevail. Millennia ago, in the fertile valley between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, men raised a tower that would reach the sky. Babylon, its glory was a symbol of human arrogance, a monument to the unmeasured ambition to control destiny without recognizing divine sovereignty. This tower, as the ancient sacred texts narrate, was not only a physical construction, but a representation of rebellion against the Creator. The pride of men tried to unite all nations under a single scepter, but the confusion of languages scattered the peoples and dispersed their plans. However, the seed of Babylon never died. It transformed, hid itself in other forms, in successive empires that inherited its spirit. Soulless opulence, manipulation of power, persecution of the righteous. Babylon was the force that crucified prophets, persecuted the children of God, and corrupted the land with its practices. Today, that same essence seeks to be reborn. It is no mere coincidence that the powers challenging the world's balance carry traces of that dark past. The scene is unfolding before our eyes, and the Last Tower is rising again, now with technologies, ideologies, and alliances that frighten even the most skeptical. In the silence of negotiations and the dark corridors of power, nations and groups unite under interest far beyond what the press reveals. This invisible coalition represents a new Babylon, an alliance made not only of economic interests, but of an ideological project that seeks to challenge what is most sacred. The ancient empires resurface in the figures of current nations. Mesopotamia is reflected in the tense Middle East. The pride and arrogance of Babylon manifest in economic powers, betting on global domination, and the forces of disorder gather to create a new world system. But just as in ancient times, the Last Tower faces resistance. There are those who fight not only for territories, but for the preservation of truth, justice, and faith. They know that what is at stake is much greater than a geopolitical dispute. It is the soul of the world. The scriptures speak of a time when the Last Tower will be brought down by God's judgment, a time when human arrogance will find its limit and justice will be restored. The book of Revelation describes a final battle where Babylon will be punished for its iniquities. But before that, there will be a period of deception, where many will be seduced by the promise of power and prosperity offered by the new tower. It will be a time of decisive choices, where every individual must decide which side they will be on. The prophecies are not just predictions, but warnings, so that we can be alert, prepared, and aware. The past and the future meet at this decisive moment, and the story of the Last Tower is being written today. Even in the face of the darkness that seems to surround the Last Tower, there is a promise of restoration and redemption. The Bible reveals that God does not abandon humanity, and that a new era of peace and justice will arise after judgment. Just as the tower was brought down in ancient times, Evil will be finally defeated, and a new Jerusalem will come down from heavens to dwell among men. Hope is for all those who seek the truth and remain firm in faith. The story of the last tower does not end with destruction, but with renewal, an invitation for each one to choose the light amid the darkness. The journey we have just begun is only the beginning. The pages of history are still being written, and each of us have a role in this unfolding. Can you see the signs? Do you recognize the forces that raise the last tower? Are you ready to choose your side? To take part in humanity's greatest battle? Leave your reflections in the comments. Share this text with those who seek to understand the times we live in. And prepare, because what is to come will change everything, forever. Babylon is not just an ancient city in ruins. It is an idea, a symbol that transcends time. It is the reflection of unbridled pride, the insatiable quest for absolute control, and the rejection of divine authority. That same spirit that once corrupted the kings and peoples of the past is alive today, hidden under new forms, but with the same destructive purpose. When observing the global powers facing each other on the geopolitical board, it is impossible not to notice the traces of this ancient influence. The strategic alliances that seem inexplicable, the wars over hidden interests, the manipulation of the masses. All of this is the whisper of Babylon rising again. But history reminds us that no empire, no matter how powerful, is ever eternal. The tower that reaches the sky is destined to fall, and what remains are the ruins of an arrogance that challenged the Creator. Since ancient times, prophets have arisen to warn about the rise and fall of world powers. Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Daniel. Their books are not mere historical accounts, but windows into the future.
Daniel, in his visions, described empires that would rise and fall like the waves of the sea. Among them, Babylon, the fierce bear, the head of gold, the chest and arms of silver, symbols representing the nations that shaped humanity's destiny. Ezekiel, in turn, narrated the war of Gog and Magog, where a coalition will rise against Israel, only to be destroyed by divine intervention. Will Babylon be in this coalition? Many scholars believe so, because the last tower will not stand alone in its rebellion. These prophetic voices continue to call our attention so that we are not seduced by the false promises of the last tower, but remain steadfast in the truth. Israel, the nation chosen by God, is the center of this cosmic story. Since its founding, Israel has faced persecution, exile, and rebirth. But at the end of times, it will be the epicenter of the confrontation between the last tower and the divine kingdom. The prophecies reveal that even in the face of overwhelming threat, Israel will be protected and restored. The temple will be rebuilt, the people redeemed, and the glory of God will dwell among them. This restoration, however, provoked hostile reactions from nations that do not accept divine sovereignty. It is in this conflict that the last tower will show its true face, revealing its rebellious essence. The last tower is not built by a single nation, but by a coalition of powers that share the same goal: to dominate the world and subjugate humanity to their will. This alliance will be marked by deception, empty promises, and manipulation. The leaders who command it will use all kinds of tricks to seduce and control the peoples, creating a global system that promises peace but delivers spiritual and material slavery. The Bible calls this entity the beast, a force that governs with temporary authority but will be defeated by the eternal power of the Most High. But not all will bow before the last tower. Amid the darkness, an invisible resistance arises, formed by those who remain faithful to the truth, even under the threat of persecution and death. They are the children of the promise, those who heard the call of the prophets and chose to follow the path of light. They will be persecuted, slandered, but never destroyed. Their faith will be their armor, their hope their strength, and their voice a beacon for future generations. The Bible speaks of a moment when heaven will open to reveal the true authority of God, and the forces of the last tower will be confronted by a power that transcends human understanding. There will be days of darkness and fire, earthquakes and chaos, but also of liberation and justice. The battle will not only be physical, but spiritual, where faith and truth will manifest with irresistible force. Those who stand firm in faith will see victory, while those who allow themselves to be seduced by deception will face eternal defeat. When the last tower finally falls, it will not be the end of the story, but the beginning of a new era. The ancient Babylon and its essence will be swept away forever, and a new kingdom will be established. The new Jerusalem will come down from heaven, bringing peace, justice, and love to humanity. Tears will be wiped away, pain will be healed, and creation will be renewed. This promise is for all who wish to abandon the tower of rebellion and surrender to divine grace. It is an invitation to transformation and hope. The time of waiting is ending. The last tower rises. Armies are forming. Prophecies are being fulfilled before our eyes. Every decision we make today will echo forever into eternity. Are you ready to see beyond appearances, to understand the true meaning of current events, to choose the light amidst the darkness? Do not let the last hour define your destiny. Seek the truth, to strengthen your faith, and prepare to be part of the final victory. The story of the last tower is not just an ancient narrative or an apocalyptic tale. It is an urgent call for each one of us. In today's world stage, where the news seems to repeat crises, where uncertainty dominates, where fear tries to silence hope, there is a greater plan, a greater story. The tower that defies the heavens is being built, that its fall is inevitable. And after its destruction, a new heaven and a new earth will emerge. Do you want to be among those who witness this transformation, among those who resist and prevail? The choice is yours. The time's now.